Again, we were both COCOM J2s, we were both JCS J2s, we both ended up becoming agency heads. And every time in every one of those positions, only speak for me, I was always glad to think to myself, I'm getting to do this with Mike Flynn. And in fact, I want to very publicly thank Mike Flynn, because I wouldn't be where I am today if he hadn't pushed to help me along in my career. I found myself, as we all do at points in our career, I'm the PACOM J2, I'm loving life in Honolulu, and General McChrystal gets the call to go to Afghanistan, and the first thing he says is, Flynn, you're leaving that cush job as the JCS J2 and you're going with me. And Flynn calls me in Honolulu and says, hey, Rogers, you need to go do this. And I'm going, we're in 2 ground wars, I'm a Navy guy, and I'm not really even an intel officer in the Navy, I'm a cryptologist. And Mike says, no, you're the guy who needs to go do this. And then he goes to Admiral Mullen, the then chairman, and he says, hey, Rogers is the guy you ought to hire. There is no doubt in my mind that I got that job because of Mike Flynn, because of the example that he set, because of the strategic thought, and because he is always about the men and women around him. It is never about him. It is always about the men and women that he partners with, that he serves with, that he leads.
As we reflect about what just happened in this country, what just happened, we just went through a revolution. This is probably the biggest election in our nation's history since bringing on George Washington when he decided not to be a king. That's how important this is. You can compare this to Reagan, you can compare this to FDR, you can compare this to Teddy Roosevelt, you can compare this to Abraham Lincoln, but I'm telling you, there's no comparison. We have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, what we call, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics. The journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
The self-image of this workforce is that they are the digital warriors of the 21st century. The way they look at themselves, hey, we're in the future, we're the cutting edge, we're doing something new, we are blazing a path. You can't, as a leader, you cannot underestimate the value of that. It is incredible.